You know, you hear all the time that Elon Musk is the richest person in history. But what if I told you that's not just wrong, but off by about, $400 trillion? Let's get into why our modern idea of wealth is basically pocket change compared to the power held by history's real financial giants. So, on one hand, you've got Elon Musk. His name is everywhere, right? Headlines, news feeds, the whole deal. But on the other, you have a name that spent centuries operating in the shadows, building a totally different kind of fortune. And this isn't just a comparison of money, it's a comparison of power itself. And look, let's just get this out of the way right now. When you really measure what matters, I'm talking about real, world-bending influence, it is not even a competition. To really get why, we have to kind of tear down our whole idea of what wealth even means. We got to look past the flashy stock tickers and quarterly earnings reports and see the massive difference between a paper fortune and real generational power.
Okay, so this first one, paper wealth, this is the stuff we know. It's what today's billionaires have. It's all out in the open, tied to stock prices that can shoot to the moon, but, and this is the key part, can also crash and burn tomorrow. Its whole value is measured in these tiny windows, fiscal quarters, super volatile.
But then, you've got real power. This is a whole different beast. We're not talking about a stock portfolio that bounces around. No, this is dynastic wealth, built on solid, hard assets. Gold, land, priceless art, things that get passed down from generation to generation. It all works through these secret, private networks, way outside of the public eye. And you don't measure its influence in years, you measure it in centuries. Okay, so how does a family actually build this kind of insane power? For that, we gotta jump back to the 1800s, right to the peak of the Rothschild family's influence. And you have to understand, they weren't just playing the economic game, they were basically writing the rules. Their whole strategy was, honestly, simple but absolutely brilliant. The family patriarch, Meyer Amschel Rothschild, he sent his 5 sons out to the 5 most important financial hubs in Europe. We're talking Frankfurt, London, Paris, Vienna, and Naples. What this did was create their own private, continent-spanning intelligence and banking network, one that moved way faster and smarter than any government at the time.
And their power grew so immense, they could literally finance entire countries. This one quote just sums it all up perfectly. They funded both sides of the Napoleonic Wars. No matter who won, the Rothschilds got paid. Think about that. Their loyalty wasn't to a flag or a king. It was to the bottom line. So it didn't matter which empire won the battle, because their family always won the financial war.
All right, this is where things get kind of mind-blowing. If all this wealth was private, hidden from the public record, how on earth do you even begin to calculate what it was worth? We're about to get into numbers that are almost impossible to wrap your head around.
I mean, Forbes can track the billionaires of today, right? But who was tracking the people who owned the debt of kings? So, what is the real number when you factor in that kind of power?
Well, some estimates put their peak wealth, when you adjust for inflation and their control over the entire global economy, at $500 trillion. And a number that huge, it isn't just about buying yachts and castles. No, it represents something way, way bigger. That's the kind of capital you need to become the literal architects of our entire modern financial world. From central banking to government bonds, the whole shebang. But look, a number like 500 trillion, it's so big it's almost meaningless, right? So let's bring it down to earth. Let's look at one single, legendary story where this power was flexed in the most dramatic way possible. The tale of how they supposedly took over an entire economy in a single day. Okay, picture this. The date is June 18th, 1815. The Battle of Waterloo is raging. Literally, the entire future of Europe is hanging in the balance.
Now, because they had this incredible private network of messengers, the Rothschilds back in London got the news that Napoleon had been defeated, hours, maybe even a full day before the actual British government knew. And back then, just like now, information was the ultimate weapon.
So the legend goes like this. Nathan Rothschild walks onto the floor of the London Stock Exchange and just starts selling his British bonds, publicly. Everyone else sees this and thinks, oh my God, he knows something, Napoleon must have won. So they panic. They all start selling and the market completely crashes. And then, quietly through his agents, he buys up everything, the entire market, for pennies on the dollar. And then, when the official news finally arrives that Napoleon lost, the market doesn't just recover, it explodes upwards. The family's fortune multiplies beyond belief.
They had, in effect, seized control of the British economy in just 24 hours.
In that story, whether it's 100% true or a legend that's grown over time, it gets to the absolute core of this idea. The greatest power doesn't want the spotlight. It doesn't need its name in the headlines. It operates from the shadows, shaping the world in ways we can't even see.
So, what's the big takeaway here? Well, first, that public paper wealth we see celebrated everywhere, it's fleeting. It can disappear in a flash. Second, real, lasting power is private. It's dynastic. It's built across generations. And finally, the history that we read in books, it's often been shaped by these unseen financial architects, the ones pulling the strings behind the curtain.
And all of this, it really forces you to ask a pretty critical question. Who are the hidden architects shaping our world right now? The ones who aren't on any rich list. It's something to think about. Because when you look at the facts,